What Bible story would qualify as a Florida man story? Florida man kills his brother in a field, says he was jealous of what the Lord gave him. Florida man, whose wife went missing, claims she turned into something that looked like bath salts. Left-handed Florida man stabs overweight politician with sword. The sword disappears into the politician's body, never to be seen again. Florida man caught with a bag containing 200 foreskins of men from his neighboring community. Reports indicate that this is the same individual who killed local heavyweight celebrity by flinging a pebble at his head several years ago as a teen. Is that what happened to that guy? And the Bible has some weird character development. Florida men try to build a tower to the heavens, but abandons project due to poor communication skills. I'm your host, Robin. Welcome back to Ask EmKay. People who shove their school papers in their backpack with no binder or folder, etc. Where are you now? Wildland firefighter. Don't really have put any papers in my bag anymore, though I do subscribe to the stuff your tent in the bag strategy over folding it, because the folding strategy doesn't work, and we have to talk about that. Lost in a sea of overwhelming guilt for my lost exam papers from 6 years ago. Shoving papers into my laptop bag or tool bag, desk drawer, man. I'm a doctor now, so I just shove them in my white coat instead. I like that image. I'm working on a sweet potato farm. I guess that tracks. Decent office job. I no longer shove my papers into a backpack. That's what my desk drawers are for. Redditors who have tried to hide on your cruise when it ended so that you could stay on the ship the next round. How did that go? This one seems pretty darn specific, I must say. There was an episode of This American Life, I think, where a woman did this, but back in the day, like 60s or early 70s, there were seating charts or something in the dining room so she couldn't sneak in to eat, and things that she assumed would be open most of the night, like bars, weren't. She lived on a lot of bar garnishes and had to pretend she was drunk. That doesn't sound very fun. How's that worth the effort? I work for Carnival. We will find you. We know you're on the ship, and we all want you to get off so I can take a short nap before I have to do it all over again in a few hours. Ugh, the cruise industry needs to go bankrupt now. I know you're planning something, OP. Maybe. It is all electronic hard swipe now. Everyone monitored all the time. All of the japes and scrapes of being a stowaway, one step ahead of the steward, is in the past now. I don't know if this counts, but my dad got locked in a toilet cubicle on a ferry to France, and it took several people to find him. The toilet was right out of the way, and you couldn't hear him yelling even right outside in the corridor because the doors were so massive. I guess he could have gone immediately back to England. Could have become a ship toilet hermit, though. That's my backup career choice. Been doing this for a couple of years now. They slapped a name tag on me, and now I work here. Oh shoot, my condolences. What are some little-known relationship green flags? Good question. Willingness to forgive when you make a mistake, or speak in anger, rather than hold on to a grudge or try to punish you. Doesn't mean they won't still be upset, of course. When you like the person that you become when you're with them. Everyone projects a different version of themselves around different people, and if you don't like who you become when you're with someone, it's probably not going to be the healthiest relationship. Your SO should bring out the best in you. The ability to coexist in very companionable silence. Oh, that was actually a tough word to read. I don't know why. If it's a chore that you both hate, you do it together. My late husband and I both hated folding laundry, but it had to be done, so we always did it together. Made the chore less of a pain. Wow, sharing the burden of the house life. It's a pretty convoluted story, but I was dating a guy, had to drive his car to get him from a situation, and wrecked his car due to a mechanical failure. I called my mom to come get me so we could go get him. Rescued him. Then had to tell him I'd wrecked his car. His first question, "Are you okay?" My mom overheard. That one's a keeper. Yeah, that should be your first goddamn question. Came home from working a 12-hour shift one night to a full dinner with my favorite dessert. Never had a girlfriend just decide to cook me a full meal, you know? Damn. I feel like there's a lot of detailed examples that largely boil down to things like this: empathy and emotional maturity. Wow, communication really is important, isn't it? Who woulda thunk-a-lunk it? If you could take a pill to skip sleep, allowing you to feel fully rested with no side effects, would you do it? What would you do with a full 24 hours? Honestly, not much. I think I'd go crazy with boredom, man. That sleep is just a nice reset on the day, especially once I've completely run out of ideas for things to do. Probably procrastinate more. Here's a webcomic about an entire society that starts taking that pill. Society stretches the workday out to 18 or 20 hours, often of meaningless stuff. The main character is allergic to pills and needs to sleep, so it's considered a disability that he can only work 16 hours a day now. And there's a bunch of other side effects. So it sounds like living in hell. Complete the stack of games I don't have time to start. Complete the stack of books I'm too busy to read. I'd probably save that pill forever and use it on one of those rare but miserable times where I have to drive late at night. Not very exciting, I know, but dying is very exciting either. Hell no, I sleep to escape. Learn to play guitar and paint. Sounds fun. No, I enjoy sleep and dreams, so you can keep your fancy stay awake all day pill. Yeah, remember what that other guy said? If something like this actually existed, the powers that be would never let you stop working. You would die standing. What teen movie is the epitome of the older I get, the more I agree with the adult? Rewatching Scrubs, I realize I'm no longer a JD. I've become a Cox. Yeah, doesn't take too long. I watched 16 Candles recently, recently, and now I do not approve of Samantha going anywhere near Jake Ryan. Sadly, the wonder years. I always couldn't believe the dad was real, with his pissed-off attitude from work. Now, I understand. The movie Juno. Jennifer Garner's character is at first portrayed as a square. Then you realize she's a mature adult, and her husband is a man-baby. Oh, yeah, he is. He's such a fucking child, dude. Not a teen movie, but Father of the Bride. Watching it as a kid, Steve Martin seemed like an old rump. Rewatching it as an adult, holy shit, he's the only sane person in that movie. Winnie the Pooh. Rabbit was never against playtime, but can you just not do it in his house or garden, you little— I've never seen that word before. A popular saying is, nothing is ever lost on the internet. But what's something you've been searching for years that you haven't found yet? Ooh, I got one. It's an old World of Warcraft video where some guy solos a boss from Black Fathom Deeps on his own. Not for the content of said video, but because of the song. This really weird, peppy, upbeat song in a language that, well, I could decipher what it was when I was a child, but I think it's gone. The night that Tony Hawk did first 900 back at the 99X Games, they played a music video-like thing with Peter's The Perfect Day showing all his misses, and then finally the hit. It basically doesn't exist, and it bothers me. The Antique Roadshow episode where the appraiser asked the owner if they had cleaned a priceless helm, and they responded with, "I hit it with a little lemon pledge," and the appraiser visibly shivers. There was a quote that I read on the title of a post that went something like, just because you've gone down 90% doesn't mean you can't go down another 90%. It's related to the stock market, but can also apply to life. I've wanted to find out who said that for the longest time. What color is Groglin gray? Grandfather always talked about painting his house Groglin gray, but I can't find any reference for it. Yeah, that does sound a little odd, doesn't it? That song I can kinda hum, but only know one word to, and to Google song lyrics plus love would, well, clearly be ridiculous. All the shitty Fruity Loops music I made in my early 20s that was on MySpace. See, they say nothing's ever lost on the internet, but when you actually delete something, well, over a certain period of time ago, it's probably gone. Like my original YouTube channel, I deleted that like 11 years ago and all the content on it. It can't be found again, guaranteed. If you could telepathically say something that all 7.8 billion people on Earth could hear at once, what would it be? Ooh, this one's gonna be fun. Whomever just farted managed to disturb the eternal conscience. I don't like that one. Something along the lines of 19 remain. They won't know what the 19 are. People? Hours? Deaths? This will most likely spiral them into insanity. Ah, calm down, Satan. According to my YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. So if you end up liking this video, please subscribe. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. Also, there's been a YouTube glitch that's been going around that makes you unsubscribe randomly. So if you could just scroll down and check if you're subscribed, it would help me out a lot. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. No. Wake up, we all miss you. You picked the correct religion. I am real, and this is the proof you've been asking for. Dude, that would just end the world. That'll get the message across. Hello, world. Oh, that's fair. That's a classic. What song is 10 out of 10, yet hardly anyone has heard? The song, okay, well, I can't read that, by Air. There's a group called Air. Take My Head, Turnover. Medicine by Daughter, also by Daughter, is very good too. Whisper, The Deer Hunter. Anesthetize, Porcupine Tree. Ooh, I like that group name. Thank You, Scientist. Mr. Invisible. Pretty much this entire band. This is their most popular song. Their sound is really hard to describe. It's part rock, part jazz, part prog. Yes, I know it stands for something else. I've seen them live twice, and they're as good, if not better, than in the studio, which is stupid impressive. Anything by Gregory Alan Isakov? His music is really calming and always makes me feel sick. Ghost Ride by Crumb. Alright, who's gonna make the Spotify playlist with all of these? You know, I've actually got a couple that come to mind. Make a New Dance Up by Hey Ocean, or really anything by Hey Ocean, or Miniature Tigers for that matter, like Cannibal Queen or Crying in the Sunshine. People who quit their jobs on the first day, what was your I'm outta here moment? Not technically the first day, but the second. When I was 20 or so, I got hired to be a temporary floor member for Forever 21 during the holiday season. My training started a week before Black Friday, so the store was already kind of in chaos. On my first day of training, I walked in and the floor manager gave all the new hires a tour showing us the facility and layout of the store. After this, I was assigned to a veteran floor member to shadow and get an idea of what my job was and what my duties would be. As soon as I was assigned, the manager dipped, never to be seen again. I used to work at a craft store as a cashier, but quit when I moved. Ended up going back a couple of years later to make some extra cash, but this time in the framing department. During the interview, they swore up and down I would only ever be a backup cashier because I said I refused to have full cashier shifts. First shift after interview is listed as framing, but I'm put on cash and told that actually most of my shifts would be cashiering since they found someone else for framing. I spent the next 6 hours giving everyone who came by register 20% off of everything and then never went back. When I burned my hands all night on the tops of hot plates as a food runner, they wouldn't let me used towels to carry them and said I just had to get used to it. Nope, I was 17 and working precast concrete. Refused to use a rusted to shit ladder. Supervisor called me a pussy. Got up about 7 rungs before his foot went through one. Heard his foot snap as he fell. I called an ambulance and then walked to my car in the parking lot. On the first day of working at Amazon's warehouse, the managers broke down to everyone how a 15-minute break works here. Walking to the break room is 2.5 minutes. 10 minutes of actual break and then 2.5 minutes to go back to your stations. It took me 2.5 minutes to walk to my car, and I took a forever break. Oh yeah, my buddy Brandon, who's actually about to start on this channel very soon, had almost this exact experience. Don't work for Amazon. I noped out of an interview one time, thanked them at the end and said it wasn't for me. Those interviewing, management level folks, started arguing with each other in front of me during the interview. I figured if this was the vibe at the management level, then I sure as hell don't want to be your employee. Oh yeah, that would have been terrible, dude. Have you ever woken up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream? When I wake up in the morning, I usually have around 30 more minutes before I actually get out of bed. If I'm having a dream before I wake up and I go back to sleep, I can usually continue. Last night, I had a dream that I was in some kind of resort or Jurassic Park-like area. I went back to sleep this morning and managed to get into a relationship with a pretty hot dude who was working at the resort. I dreamt I was part of some Eastern European resistance movement who had to speak in code and hide out in abandoned manors in the forest to plan our attacks against some fascist regime. We enlisted the Pope to help us, but when we went to meet him, he double-crossed us because the regime we were fighting somehow knew the Pope was gay and was going to tell everyone. I woke up then, not knowing if my resistance group was executed or if we escaped somehow. I call it my gay Pope dream. I was friends with Jesus in the modern day, and he was sound, not preachy. One of the lads, like, I was eating the most delicious chicken nuggets ever. I learned I could fly, but I had to teach myself. Woke up right as I was gearing up for the big test to see how high I could go. Forced myself back to sleep, and let me tell you, flying in a dream is way too fun. I used to have lucid dreams in my early to mid-20s. As soon as I'd realize I was asleep, I'd start flying or just rising to the ceiling because it was cool. Then, who should I pretend to sleep with? And the excitement over that possibility woke me up every damn time. Imagine having a reverse Yelp, where we rate customers on their attitudes, manners, and how well they tip. What review would you leave? Her kids dropped the popcorn, so she asked me for a broom to let them clean it up themselves. I said it wasn't necessary, but she insisted that she wanted to raise them to be conscious of the fact that, well, if they make a mess, someone has to clean it up. Nice lady. Very polite, but also incredibly awkward for some reason. Me. Very friendly. Usually gets a root beer to start and a coffee after their meal. Eats out on break from lunch daily. Usually wants quick service and minimal interruptions. Sometimes eats with a client. Usually tips well. Made many additional requests throughout the meal during peak dinner hour. Left the table disgustingly messy and did not tip well. The lady who yelled at me on the second day of my first job over the price of milk can have a solid 1 star. Came on opening weekend, one of the biggest movies of the year, 5 minutes before the showtime, and was shocked that they'd have to stand in line for their sessions. Then complained to management that they missed their movie. Like, what the hell did you think was going to happen? Like we'd have a reserved place in line for them because of their obvious VIP status as King Douche Lord of Assland? Came in, ordered, ate their food in silence, left minimal mess and a reasonable tip, then fucked off. My perfect customer, 5 stars. People will let their mom count to 0. What happened after? She's currently on 1 with, oh, I'm not reading that. I'll let you know if she ever gets there. Everything goes black and the last thing I see is my mother's slipper speeding towards me. She was bluffing, but only the first time. Wooden spoon impact. Pussies. My mom started at 0. Oh, I had my sister's Hello Kitty belt imprint left on my ass. Tried it once. She gave a defeated sigh, then chuckled, then said something like, "You're getting too old. That was the day I became a man." I'll never forget my 32nd birthday. What wedding moment made you think they're not gonna last long? When they were doing the vows and the priest got to the for richer or poorer part, and she said for richer or richer and maybe for poorer. The officiant was not pleased. I think they made it a year. The groom showed up to his own reception wearing a t-shirt with restroom-style stick figures depicting a bride and groom captioned "Game Over." As a wedding photographer, I have been to more than my share of weddings. One, it was a real shotgun wedding. Dad didn't realize it would not stand up in court. Only time the groom was more excited to have photos than the bride. She wanted a limo, he thought a hearse would be better, and kept doing Lurch impressions from the Addams Family. Her friends took turns motorboating her, females, and he said, "Get it out of your system, as after tonight you'll never get to do that again." Was a good sign. Also, when she dove into the pool with her bridesmaids at reception in her wedding dress. Don't know what happened, sat down with the bride and groom filling out contract, got the deposit, he stood up and said forget it, and walked out. 2 months later, I get told the wedding is off. 3 months later, she calls to rebook a different groom. Day of the wedding, I'm at the church, got final payment the week before, no one shows. No one. Just me and the DJ. Huh, you got completely paid for hanging out with a DJ? I'm witnessing one from the sidelines now. My wife's brother just got married this past May. Bride's mother is a big DIY person and went a little nuts with extra flowers, table pieces, decorations, etc. Note I said extra. It was already decorated by the venue. She just took it upon herself to buy and add way more stuff. Anyway, A few weeks ago, she sends my mother-in-law, groom's mom, an email with receipts of all the extra stuff she bought, $7,000 worth, and asked that she pay half since it was technically set up in time for the rehearsal dinner for guests to enjoy. It's causing a huge rift between the newlyweds since the bride is taking her mom's side. Damn, you're trying to charge me $3,500 for something I didn't ask you to do? That kind of sounds like your fucking problem. When my sister married her first husband, she mouthed to my father walking her down the aisle, "I can make this work, right?" They were divorced 6 months later. My whole family knew it wasn't a good idea since the original engagement a year prior. A fun, light-hearted dance with the groom followed by a close and slow dance with her male best friend. Yikes. There's a population of 7.5 billion humans and 19 billion chickens at any given time. If there was a chicken rebellion, how would you prepare to fight off your 2.7 chickens? Give or take a few. Don't worry, I'm ready for this. I played Fable growing up. The question is, who will the geese support? I've got 10 German short-haired pointers. I just opened the door. You mean a chicken coup? I'm going to wear my snow pants, winter coat, hat, gloves, etc. so they can't peck at me or claw at me. And then I'm just going to whack them in the head with a baseball bat. That sure is the most boring answer. Throw styrofoam on the ground. Those dumb shits never stop pecking it, trying to eat it, or realize it's inedible. Then pecking it again. It pockets sand for ground birds. I will attack the eyes of my 0.39 human. My fellow chicken or chickens will attack the groin. In a video game, if you come across an empty room with a health pack, extra ammo, and a save point, you know some serious shit's about to go down. What's the real life equivalent of this? Recent experience. 11 p.m. in a particularly rough neighborhood. Random guy on a bicycle calls out from a distance and is riding towards us at an alarming pace. Me and my friend stand firm, expecting trouble as the cyclist slows his pace. Cyclist, go! Keep walking. What? Cyclist begins to pick up pace again. Madness just happened down the road. Keep moving. Say no more. Couple of minutes later, sirens ring out a couple blocks over. Found out the next day somebody's body was found chopped up and left out in the street. Oh, shit. Your parents bringing you your favorite food and talking in a higher voice. Oh no. Hi, I'm Chris Hansen from Dateline NBC. Have a seat. If you can use all your material for an exam, you know you're gonna need it. Coming in early for a quick chat with your boss and all the partners are there. Signing a waiver for your consent. Ooh, no thanks. Your doctor wants to see you in person to discuss the results. When you're walking through the woods and everything gets silent, no crickets, no birds, nothing. People who ask for a pencil every single day in school. How's life going for you? I'd love to give you the long version, but my phone's about to die. Can I borrow your charger? So my best friend did this. We're both adults' jobs now. I asked him the other day if he remembers a pen, and he said his coworkers had gotten together to give him a humongous pen stand stuffed with pens to stop him from asking. Ah, the irresponsibility. Well, I became a nurse. Now I ask for pens instead of pencils, and other nurses hunt me down if I take their pen. I have a sewer in my office that's full of pens, pencils, markers, highlighters, low-temp Sharpies, so on and so forth. Anyone can access it that needs one. I also have a secret drawer that only I can access. I knew a guy in high school that would say, "Oh, there's my pencil," anytime he'd see a pencil that someone didn't actively have next to them. Then he'd put it in his pencil case and go on with his life. Very few people caught on because he was so casual about it. I'd ask to borrow a pencil almost any time I saw him do it, and he'd just casually take one out, hand it to me, and say, "Don't forget to give it back." I never did. What do you use to remind yourself that everything isn't that bad? I remember that Yahoo hasn't given up, so why should I? I'm not homeless anymore. My chronic illness is in remission, so I can feed myself and even work outside of the house. Life is good. I try to remember that we're all just making it up as we go along. I have a roof over my head. I text a friend to see if they want to have dinner. We plan something and cook it with a good drink. Then another. Repeat as necessary. Life feels pretty good after a few drinks and dinner with friends. Also, I try out a lot of new recipes. That experiences with people is what matters most, not money or material. I think about the fact that all things considered, I'm reasonably healthy and there's no warrant out for my arrest. What are some guys' secrets that girls don't know about? Many men have anxiety and or depression, but we're not going to talk about it, and we'll get moderately annoyed at you for bringing it up. And there's a reason for that, because we're usually treated like shit or brushed off for it still. It's getting better though. Much, much better. Sometimes we pee on the poo stains in the toilet because we're too lazy to use the scrub. I mean, it's obviously a thing that guys do, but it's not like some big conspiracy level secret or some shit. You know, just clean your toilet. If we haven't carried all the shopping in one trip, we haven't done it right. Okay? Maybe this is more of a dad secret, but I don't babysit my own kids. That's called fathering, damn it. If you compliment my appearance, I'll probably remember forever. I still remember when a girl in college told me I look nice with my beard when I first grew it out. I've had a beard ever since. We have the magical power of thinking about nothing. Not true. That's not just a guy thing across the bar. I can't think about nothing. Nice try, Audrey. I'm not telling you what I got you for your birthday. Man spreading isn't a sexual thing. We're trying not to crush our balls between our legs, dude. What video or recording is perfectly innocent but becomes terrifying when you look into the story behind it? The dating game. The concept appeared innocent enough. A woman chooses a bachelor out of the 3 available contestants and they go on a date. However, the game in 1978 turned dark when when serial killer Rodney, you know what, fuck your name, you're a serial killer, was nominated to be a contestant and won the game. The contestant refused to go out with him on the date because she thought he was actually creepy afterwards. She dodged a bullet. Was it literally? One day I saw a news report on a woman's body dropped in a lake. The police were still looking for the body. They interviewed a man who said that could have been someone's mother. A few hours later, they find out the body was that man's mother. I'm from Czech Republic, and on YouTube, there's a video of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire contender, Victor, last name I'm not gonna mispronounce. He's a pretty smart guy and performs better than well. However, later, he's become one of the most famous mass murderers in the history of our country. Oh, alright then. The 2004 tsunami videos. People having fun on a gorgeous day, enjoying the now very wide beach, not knowing the wave of death coming towards them. These teens found a suitcase in Seattle by the sea while filming a TikTok, only to discover that the suitcase contained 2 bodies. I do remember that, yeah. Tommy Cooper death on stage. People were thinking that he was acting when he collapsed around dead from a heart attack. What old video games do you still play regularly? Ooh, Command and Conquer Red Alert 2. Worms. This blew up. Stupid, simple, awesome game. Ratchet and Clank. Ooh, damn right, I play Deadlock all the time, man. The Sims 2. Everything about it is perfect to me. The music especially. It has a goofiness and warmth that we don't see much these days. 007 Nightfire. I play through the Baldur's Gate series every year or two. It's still my favorite series of all time. For me, I play through Okami at least once a year. Until recently, Age of Empires 2. Only reason I stopped was because I switched to Definitive Edition when it came out. San Andreas. I sometimes love to play it and drive around the city and cry for the old days. The Secret of Monkey Island. I've spoken with apes more polite than you. If HBO's Chernobyl was a series with a new disaster every season, what event would you like to see covered? I would like the 1917 Canadian blast. The largest man-made explosion until nuclear bombs in 1945. Not so much for the blast, but for the rebuilding and dealing with it. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in 1911. 150 died, most of them young women, because the doors were locked to prevent workers from taking breaks and inventory, and they couldn't leave the building. This sparked outrage and spurred the development of many work safety standards we have today. Would have been a tragic show, but interesting to see how it changed the safety of work in the West. The owners of the building escaped alive via the roof, and then were indicted for manslaughter. Got off with paying a fine, and then were found to have locked the doors at their next factory as well. Surprised nobody killed them, honestly. Centralia, Pennsylvania. It's a ghost town because the coal that runs under the city is on fire, and it has been for many years. Thank you for the precious metals. Also, if you're intrigued by Centralia, look up the Times Beach, Missouri disaster that also required the town be evacuated. I'm pretty sure Centralia was one of the towns that helped inspire Silent Hill. What's clearly a scam, but is so normalized people don't notice. Ink cartridges. Printer companies make barely any profit off the printers. They're just vessels to make you buy unreasonably priced cartridges. Hey, please print this document black and white. Fuck you, give me magenta. Yeah, and they do that because they have chips in them programmed to use little amounts of magenta in the red for a better black. No joke. Internet data cap. Fucking scammers. Looking at you, Comcast. The diamond industry, specifically as it relates to jewelry. Everything that the average person knows about it stems from propaganda and advertisements created by De Beers. They aren't rare. They're not worth what you pay for them. They don't appreciate in value and are a terrible investment. They aren't special. Yeah, you see quartz all the time. It's the same fucking thing. It's just not as hard. Starbucks. I paid $10 for 51 ounces of Folgers ground coffee, roughly 388 ounce cups. That comes out to about 2 cents per cup of coffee. At Starbucks, a tall dark roast costs $1.85. I could have 92.5 cups of Folgers at home before I pay for one Starbucks. My tub of Folgers is worth about $703 if I were to sell it at the same price as Starbucks. And I'm using reusable cups every day. I'm just gonna let you know right now. Buying coffee away from home for $1.85, I'm not calling that a scam. I definitely agree on the reusable cups thing every single day though. That's much better. But oh no, $1.85 for my coffee. Whoa, no! Why don't you look at the fucking mixed drinks that cost $30 a piece at Starbucks rather than their base coffee, dude? Also, to be as fair as possible, multi-billion-dollar corporation that is Starbucks, Folgers sucks ass. Those Keymaster games that usually have something like a Switch and a pair of Beats and stuff. I work part-time at an arcade and physically cannot win a prize until the machine has taken its retail equivalent in cash. The school picture industry. $80 for an awkward picture of my baby? No, I just paid for the privilege of setting up my router. They make you pay for that now? Ooh, I'm getting real sick of this shit. If scientists invent a teleportation system but the death rate was 1 in 5 million, would you use it? Why or why not? Just Google, what has a 1 in 5 million chance of happening? The answer? Death by hot tap water. Haven't heard of too many cases, so I'd take my chances there. 1 in 5 million? Yeah, I absolutely would. Those odds aren't that bad. Depends. What's the death like? If it's like Stephen King's The Jaunt, then hell no. Yeah, without question. With odds like that, it's probably the safest mode of transportation you could find. airplane. Sure, I live in London. I'm sure the death rate for just stepping outside of my house is worse than this. That's better odd than flying in an airplane at 1 in 3 million. Damn, really? 1 in 3 million? I don't know why I thought it was worse than that. Lawyers of Reddit, what's a detail that your client failed to bring up to you that completely lost you the case? Opposing counsel, isn't it true you hit the victim in the face with a brick? No, Marcus hit him with a brick. I hit him in the back with a piece of wood. Ah, so your client was guilty and they neglected to mention that. Kinda weird. He'd sent a photo of his wife's beaten face to his wife with a message saying something along the lines of, "Do you want this to happen again?" He came across very well in court up to that point, but his mask slipped when that came out. A buddy of mine's case as a public defender. A gal was busted on drug charges and told him she didn't have any drugs on her when they arrested her. He thought, okay, we'll use that. Turns out she didn't have any drugs on her when they arrested her because she just sold them to an undercover cop. Ah, employment case. We got the deposition of my client and all set up. The first question is, please state your name. The client looks at me and says, can we take a break? We do, and she pulls me out in the hall to tell me she's lied to me about her identity. She's apparently a serial fraudster and has changed identity 7 times since the 90s. She's apparently thought the other attorneys had somehow figured it out, and that's why they asked question. Friend of mine's a defense attorney. He was representing a guy with a lengthy record for assault. Basically, this guy took an AC unit, threw it at his girlfriend. My buddy tells me he was able to get a plea deal for 1 year probation, no jail time. The judge is all ready to accept the deal when he asks the defendant if he had anything he would like to say. The defendant responds, yeah, I don't know why they're charging me with assault. I never touched her. I just threw an AC at her. This is bullshit. Judge rescinded the plea deal because of the defendant's attitude and lack of remorse. Went to trial, got a year in jail. Oh, dipshit. I mean, he deserved though, so. What's the fastest you've ever seen a new coworker get fired? Oh, baby. During their onboarding training, they stole my boss's wallet on camera. 1 hour in. This is the opposite route here, but I found it amusing. My boss was out of town and I managed a tea shop near a Starbucks years ago. This kid came in for it and said he was supposed to start today. We were hiring and I trained him, etc. My boss came back 2 days later and had no idea. The kid was in the wrong place, but he stayed with us, hired on the spot without even applying. We had a recent college grad that used his corporate card for personal purchases. He figured that the company would just keep deducting from his payroll until it was paid off. He was fired after 3 months of constant reminders to stop doing it. I don't think it qualifies as the fastest because it lasted 3 months, but it was pretty idiotic. New guy drove a forklift into a fire hydrant in front of a safety rep company. His supervisor was called over and he immediately tells the supervisor that he won't pass a piss test as he used his only bottle of clean piss earlier that day when he was hired in. Everybody standing there immediately burst into laughter, which continued as security, also laughing, escorted him off site. Was everyone clapping? Even the supervisor was all smiles. Just gave him a pat on the back and wished him the best of luck. It was wild. I work construction. We had 2 new hires that were friends starting the same day. Boss told me to take a coffee order and come back. Took everyone's money, said he needed his friend to go with him because it was a big order, and they never came back. What's some juicy gossip you just found out in your personal lives? My cousin's wife finally caught his cheating ass. 3 years he's been playing her for a fool, but she actually knew. She just loves him too much. Heard that the asshole who got me fired got fired because of the email that I sent to the company's VP. Apparently, I'm adopted. Not really sure if the ancestry thing works, but I want to find my biological parents. So much stuff is happening, I don't even know anymore. My friend just dropped out of university to become an escort. He's happier, apparently, that my brother asked my mom for $1,000 in rent. She gave him $1,400 so he could also pay back a loan. Then he turned around and also asked my dad for $1,000 for rent, which he also gave him. Then turned around and used the money to buy tickets to Burning Man. My parents aren't going to lend out any more money without talking to each other first. That's a lot of money for Burning Man, dude. What? I just found out my neighbor's been having an affair with another one of my neighbors and the kids figured it out. I used to see them go jogging sometimes. My ex, after 1 week of being single, started dating this SoundCloud rapper. Now she's pregnant with twins. We're still in our teens. My dad is having an affair. Just found out 30 minutes ago. My mom is devastated, although I had my suspicions. They've been married for 46 years. Dad is 73. Good lord. People who force others into listening to the music by driving a car with windows wide open and the volume 100% on. Why do you do that? See, I hate questions like this because it makes me think, oh, I'm not allowed to listen to my music when one of my windows is down. Oh no, I know you mean the jackasses that vibrate the parking lots and shit, but still, because everyone should be listening to Dance Mix 95 too. My dad does this at 6 a.m. in residential areas with me in the car while dropping me off at my mom's house in said area. Send help. Love the music. Love the wind. My car smells weird. How else am I gonna show off my obviously superior taste in music? That's a fair question. It's how I attract others of my kind, like a mating call. Well, we'll be seeing ya.